As part of putting together the WebTrack content for today, or for the whole roadshow, what we did was we actually looked at the Orlando event that happened in May, and there was about 50 sessions or so there, and so we took the best pieces of content from that and collapsed them into this session. And so at the end of the day, we realized, what would be the good, sort of a cleanup, all-encompassing session, and there was so much interest in third-party frameworks. It's like, what libraries are out there that I can use to make my apps better, such as jQuery and Sencha, Dojo, and all these other libraries. So we just wanted to spend some time talking about those as a group. And actually, one thing I'm really excited about today is, as we talk about jQuery Mobile, as of about 11 a.m. this morning, we got permission to actually show you the new BlackBerry 10 theme for jQuery Mobile. So you're the first audience to actually see it. And I have it loaded on the device, so I'm going to show that to you next. It's a bit of a really exciting project that's been going on internally for a bit, and let's get started. So jQuery Mobile, if you haven't heard of this, I'd be really surprised because it's probably one of the most popular mobile JavaScript frameworks out there. I think I saw a report the other day saying that 51% of the web runs on jQuery. I don't know how accurate that actually is, but it does represent the fact that it's one of the most popular third-party libraries. It's been around for quite some time. It's seen a number of evolutions over time. So of course it started with the jQuery core, which was a great library for doing stuff in JavaScript. So you didn't have to reinvent the wheel every time you wanted to build an app. So you wanted a function that managed arrays for you. jQuery probably does that, and so on. It evolved into a UI component. So they wanted to give developers an easy way of building UI pieces. So jQuery UI came along, and then of course jQuery Mobile came into place, which was solving the mobile solution for you. The principles around jQuery is don't break the web, so follow the rules, don't cause people a lot of pain, don't cause them to damage their code and bang their heads against the wall just to get the library to working when web standards change. And in that regard, it was also designed to be cross-platform. So your content should at least work on any web platform that runs it. Whether or not the experience is consistent is another question, but jQuery should manage a lot of that for you. So how they went about approaching trying to support all these different browsers, especially years ago, at a time when the experience, especially on mobile, was very challenging, was they came up with this graded support scale. And you'll notice when we first got on the roadmap, we were at the bottom of the pile. Right? This was when this was around 2007, when the BlackBerry 4.x and the 5.0 platforms were just getting into market, and jQuery was doing stuff up here. We were right around here, and we needed to recognize that really quickly. There was a lot of internal arguments happening about when we should enhance our web platform. How we need to get to WebKit as soon as possible, and those were some of the reasons that went into, of course, the acquisition. So C grade is really not where you want to be. It's where you are 5 or 6 years ago in the mobile space. It means that your browser rendered web content, but not very well. A lot of features just didn't work. Certain things were disabled by default, like JavaScript. Who needs JavaScript anyway, right? That was a performance optimization decision at a time when JavaScript was still considered a naughty word. I remember one of my first web development jobs, they really discouraged the use of JavaScript completely, because this was the time when Netscape and IE4, I think, were dominating the market, and it was very inconsistent between the two. Of course, that's changed a lot since then, and so now we've evolved up to B, where BlackBerry 5 came into B. We completely revamped the existing web platform, but it wasn't WebKit yet. It was just like a supercharged version of our existing Java web platform. So it strived to support the exact same standards as WebKit, but you just can't keep up with an open source project of that scale. Like there's thousands of developers contributing to WebKit, and there was maybe at most 50 employed developers at RIM working on the web platform. So you just can't scale. So when we introduced WebKit, boom, that immediately escalated BlackBerry 6 up to the A-grade browser, and of course Playbook and BlackBerry 10 remain in there. And in fact, if there was an A+ or an A++ browser, that's where BlackBerry 10 would be today, and a few select others. So we're really proud to be up here. What that means is suddenly jQuery has said, oh yeah, here comes BlackBerry, whatever. to how can we help get support on the BlackBerry platform. They actually call us. They show up to our events and invite us to participate in their conversations, which is a really good place to be. jQuery works through this principle of progressive enhancement. So you design your app to work against the web standards. You provide clean and semantic HTML. You define proper data attributes and so on. And the library itself scales and transforms your app according to the platform it's on. Right? So if the platform supports certain types of CSS animations, it's going to do those cool scale or fade effects for you. If not, you may just get an immediate switch of the screen. Right? The library encapsulates some of these advanced features. If you're interested in any sort of theming, specifically to what we're going to, I think maybe I'll just show you it now. There's theme builders out there. jQuery was one of the first to really provide a rich and compelling theming experience. So everyone's app shouldn't and doesn't look the same. So why not give developers a way of customizing the look and feel, the colors and styles and theme elements of their apps, and do so in a really cool way. So I guess with that, maybe I'd like to switch to, how should we do this? Why don't we do this on the HDMI, please? So I will preface this with the fact that this is obviously beta. So they have put a lot of effort into preparing this for a demo. Just says I got Web Inspector enabled. But there's still a lot of work left to do. So there's some performance enhancements, some feature completion, and so on. But this is jQuery mobile theme for BlackBerry 10. So you'll notice that it has all these different features. This is activity indicators, different values that you can pick from. Come on back. Checkboxes. Oh, here we are. So even the checkboxes have a neat animation effect to them. I think it's my device. It's not happy with screen touches. That's what's fussing with me. Collapsible content blocks. Oops. So like an accordion style thing. So you notice the performance still, like I mentioned, still needs some work. We don't expect to see that entire screen flicker. That shouldn't be there. But you'll notice that the behavior itself works the same. So all of these things that I'm showing you are existing UI components that already are part of jQuery. So if you're a jQuery developer and you've already built an app that has checkboxes or collapsible elements or so on, what you would do is you would apply this theme to that. And you would suddenly get content that looks like it's a BlackBerry 10 application. So that's the benefit of it. Grid view. So just like what we saw in BB UI, that library has followed the UI guidelines that were defined for BlackBerry 10. So too can you do the same thing with jQuery Mobile. Oh, how do we get back? Oh, you didn't put a back button on this page. That's tricky. Progress bar. Not bad, huh? Slider, text fields, text field validation. I think we talked about this earlier. So we've got input text, test, enter valid to validate. All right. Okay, so obviously that's not working still. Maybe it doesn't like the capital V. Oh, stop it. Whatever. Any of these features anyone wants to see specifically?
No? Just happy with you going through it? Let's see. Slider, toggle switch. That's a popular jQuery element. Now that's designed to look just like it should on BB10. So, okay, that's a bit easier to see than it was on BBUI. So you notice that when you activate it, there's this pulse effect. It gives immediate feedback to your user that they're doing something or that they actually have activated that element. And this theme is just automatically taking care of that for you, right? Cool. All right, so that is the first preview that we've done so far of this. So we're expecting is, once we're in a happy state, laptop please, we're going to get this out into the wild, probably do a big launch, big announcement with jQuery mobile folks, put blog articles, presentations, and so on, and get this out there for developers to start using. The reason why we've been able to get to this point so successfully is because we've actually have someone at RIM whose new full-time job it is to work on open source projects such as jQuery Mobile. His name is Jason, which is kind of ironic because he actually spells it like JSON in the forums, which is cool. Jason Scott, he's actually couldn't be here today, but yeah, he wrote this theme with the help of, I believe, a co-op, and they're going to continue to do so. So, yeah. Yeah, just a site called JQM Gallery. If you want to see what other developers are doing with jQuery Mobile, you can go check it out. Just a moment of inspiration. This is what it looks like actually including it, but I think what I want to show you is how we do it in the library. So for anyone who's used jQuery already, you'll know that you create a page element, you add a header, a content. Like this is all the same. This is no different than any other jQuery app. The difference is, and the only difference is this. So all you have to do as a developer is include a reference to the BlackBerry 10 CSS and the BlackBerry 10 JavaScript, and it takes over the theme for your pages. So it also supports different, I believe it's what, data theme? I may have that wrong, equals A, B, C, or D. So it supports different versions of that, the light and the dark theme that are defined as part of the BlackBerry 10 guidelines. So those are there. So I think that's pretty cool. As a developer, it makes it so much easier for you to migrate your content to BlackBerry 10 because you already have your content written, and all you need to do is theme it with that style. All right. Let's just skip over this. Just want to talk about how jQuery interacts with page elements and does so with Ajax. The audio enhanced UI done through this framework. So this is what your content might look like in a given browser without any theming. You apply theme to it, suddenly it looks a lot nicer. And of course, like I just showed, if you add references to those BlackBerry 10 theme resources, boom, the same content gets transformed into something that looks and feels like BlackBerry 10. The cool thing that I noticed when I first saw BBUI was that it borrowed a lot of principles from jQuery. So it took advantage of these data dash whatever properties. And I think that's valuable for developers because if you're already familiar with how that works in jQuery, it makes it easier to understand how it works in other libraries like BBUI. Again, we just wanted to highlight our partnership with the Cordova folks. The BlackBerry piece of their service that runs is WebWorks code. So under the covers, it's the exact same open source code. So when you hit build in Adobe PhoneGap, you're actually getting WebWorks code built into that application. That's important to us because we're partnering. We have this great relationship with this team. They're actively developing together. We have another individual named Gord Tanner, who is one of the tiny hippos, who created the Ripple mobile emulator. Well, his new job at RIM is to work on Cordova, is to make sure that when Cordova developers choose BlackBerry, they get the best experience possible. So prior to Gord, it was the community, taking responsibility for doing that. And as you can imagine, their interests were more in other platforms, other things. And as a result, BlackBerry was really left, in third place. So we're changing that. We're absolutely changing that. We're being part of the conversation, part of the discussion to ensure that,
yes, Cordova with BlackBerry is going to support feature X, Y, Z. Yes, you're going to have BlackBerry 10 experiences, and all those features that you care about and you want to have, they're going to be there. So if you're one of the folks who've never used jQuery and you want to get started, they've got some amazing documentation, really world-class stuff, and I invite you to check it out. And there's a number of great learning resources out there in the wild, including authors who have participated in our developer events, such as Max Furtman, and many others. So these are folks that we're working closely with as well. Anyone use Sencha? Sencha Touch? Yeah, a couple hands. Yeah. Were you forced to? No? You chose it? Good. Yeah. It's growing on me. Yeah, I think the first time I saw it was overwhelming. It's a really powerful web framework for building great web applications. I just wanted to quickly show you what it is too. Why you would choose one or the other really depends on what you need in the framework. I think jQuery is a bit more user-friendly, and especially in getting started with, and it's a lot more webby, so it feels like a web library. It has a web terminology, where Sencha is structured more like a native development project. There's models, there's views, there's objects, there's these sorts of things that make more sense if you're already a native developer and you understood those, but it works in a web way. It's very cool. We're actually quite proud to be part of a current partnership with them, the folks at Sencha, to make sure that the next version of the Sencha library works great on BlackBerry. It was actually designed for a different platform originally and then ported over to others. And likewise, it sort of works on BlackBerry. It works pretty good on Playbook, on BlackBerry 10, but it could be better, and so we're making it better. We're working with them to do that. The stuff that it does really well are things like touch and orientation events, really, really well. It's got really amazing rich animation styles and themes, a lot of pre-built UI components that you can just start using and plug into your app, and it looks really great. This is one library that's designed to be pixel perfect, so a lot of attention and effort has gone into building it to make sure that it takes advantage of that content is king principle that we like to push now. One thing that's really important is Sencha Touch version 1 and Sencha Touch version 2 is very different, and the second one performs much better, especially on the BlackBerry platform. So if you're looking at an old project and it's not performing the way you want it to, just consider maybe it's time for an upgrade to do that. What comes with that are things like really natural feeling gestures. So not just those tap events that I discussed earlier, it actually implements real gestures to do that, which is good. And there, as I mentioned, so touch really, they put so much effort into performance improvements in that version of the library, improving things like the events, the layout. Layout is very expensive. Calculating how things should appear on the page can be very costly, especially in browsers with different, that are dependent on different hardware capabilities, so they put a lot of effort into that. And a lot of their focus included support for tablets. So, faster tablet rendering. Larger screen size, you got different pixel density. It's time to, make sure that the library supports that properly. All right. And last but not least, for the major libraries is Dojo. So this is another alternative. Dojo is, I think of Sencha as a very commercialized product. It's created by a business that's in the market to make money. jQuery is a really open source, community-led project. And Dojo, I feel, is also a very open but very structured library. But it's designed to build really sophisticated web apps. If you were to look at the code for the first time, it might be a little overwhelming as well, especially for beginners. It uses a lot of advanced syntax, such as script loading and so on, things that you need to understand those principles really before it makes sense to you. But once you do, it not only enables really rapid development, supports multiple browsers, but does so in a really great way. And so the idea behind it is they wanted to definitely take advantage of the limits of what you can do on the web and push those and make it easier for developers to do that. So as soon as SVG and WebGL came along, Dojo was already working on that and putting that into their framework, right? Yeah. So their project goals, I think these are awesome. Well, specifically because their second one is called Be Awesome. That's actually from their site. I didn't paraphrase or anything. These are their 4 goals. So create a unified toolkit. Make sure that developers are able to build superior apps. And it's true. Be awesome, of course. make sure that apps are fast and powerful and efficient. And then the really area where I feel that Dojo stands apart is it's really business friendly. So if you're looking to build an app that has a lot of corporate or enterprise-like features, charting, graphing, forms, data, and those sorts of things, Dojo is something you should consider because it has a lot of functionality built into it that makes that stuff easy to do. Okay. Chad, I think I may have talked a bit too long, but I think I'd like to, Chad, why don't you take over from here? And got a few more libraries to chat about.
Okay. Yeah, it won't hold you up too long. I know it's getting close to 4:30 there, but 4:35. Oh, okay. Well, I'll hold you up a bit then. So, yeah, I just wanted to touch over a few libraries real quick. Zepto, anybody? Imagine there's probably a few, yeah. A couple of eager people over there. So Zepto, if you're not familiar with it, think of it as like a very light version of jQuery. It's the same syntax. You select elements the same way. It's really basically, honestly, it's just a scaled down version of jQuery. It doesn't have all the features in there. So if you're like me, maybe a lazy coder a little bit, you want to have that ease of, yeah. Yeah. So you want to have that ease of, I want to select an element. I don't want to type, 30 characters to do it. Consider checking out Zepto. It's very, very lightweight. Like it says, it looks and feels just like jQuery. And it's designed to be lightweight and faster than using jQuery. You don't need the whole, I don't know how big jQuery is now, 100 some odd kilobytes. So I used it in a couple of my projects. It doesn't have support for, I don't think it does animation, fading in and out. You can correct me if I'm wrong. But that kind of stuff. But if you want to do just simple like Ajax and selectors and whatnot, definitely check it out. It's very, very light and very useful. It's just a little code snippet. It's basically you include it just like you would jQuery, and the usage. They're selecting a. I mean, it's pretty straightforward if you know jQuery. Literally select the element you want, do what you want to do with that element, and go from there. So as I mentioned, it's smaller. It's about, let's say, about 9 kilobytes, just under 9 kilobytes. Doesn't have all the capabilities, like I said. What's really cool is it's scalable, since it uses the same syntax as jQuery and whatnot. If you get to the point in your application where Zepto no longer can perform what you need it to do, it's just a matter of including jQuery and swapping out your includes in your main index file, and everything's the same. You can take off where you left, and it's very, very easily replaceable. So definitely something to check out. Modernizer. Anybody Modernizer fans? A couple. Few. Alrighty. So what Modernizer does, it basically allows you to use HTML5 in the past, I guess, is one of their little slogans. Uses polyfills, and what a polyfill in a nutshell is a snippet of code that replicates an API that may not be supported on a device necessarily. I like to give an example with geolocation, for example. Say it's not supported on a certain device with using the polyfill. In Modernizer, you can have support for that, or we'll get into this a little more, actually, make more sense. Oh, where are we here? So yeah, I wanted to show this here. This is the, when you load Modernizer, basically you can test, does this browser have support for this function, in this case geolocation? If it does, then we want to load maybe full geolocation support. If it doesn't, then let's load the polyfill to give it support for it. Or maybe not, maybe we'll do something else, have an alert pop up or some sort of message, maybe this can't be done on this phone. Whatever you decide, it's really up to you as the developer. And again, the purpose of the library is just to be able to write code and content for all browsers. Takes a lot of the work out of there for you, and to avoid runtime errors. Just makes it a lot easier. And as far as a user using your application, they obviously don't want it to die and crash on them and not work as expected. So 3.js, Adam touched on this earlier, showing the code compared to WebGL. Basically, just a recap on it, it's a JavaScript 3D library, open source again, available on GitHub. And you can render surfaces with Canvas, WebGL, or SVG. You showed the demo, Webscape, I believe, right?
Yep.
Navigating through the terrain and whatnot, so that was with 3JS. It's a good website if you want to learn a bit more, learning3js.com. But as you saw, it's pretty powerful. And the best part is, like, personally looking at this, I don't even want to deal with WebGL when I see something like that. So I would definitely be the person who would load up the library and have 2 lines of code rather than a dozen or so. It just makes 3D a lot easier. And working with Canvas, WebGL, or SVG, I personally don't know why somebody would want to type all that out if they didn't have to. So if you're into that, definitely check it out. If you're into the purest way of doing things, then by all means, type away. There's a link there in case you don't have it.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, sorry, I almost forgot to mention. We've actually got a developer. What was his name?
That's Jonathan Feldstein.
Okay, so Jonathan's working, contributing to 3JS to help make sure it runs the way you would expect it would on BlackBerry. It helped provide that consistent performance that we keep mentioning. Lastly, we've got Create.js, and what this is basically is just a suite of modular libraries that you can use. It comes with several, Easel.js, Tween.js, Sound, Preload, Zoe. You can use 1, you can use 2, you can use as many of them modules as you need for your application. And it really enables you to work with rich content easily in your application. So just to elaborate a little further, Easel.js simplifies using the HTML canvas. If you're familiar with Flash and whatnot, it should be a lot easier. Sound.js, they're pretty self-explanatory, I know, but Sound.js, if you're going to work with HTML5 audio, it makes it a breeze, as it says. I don't know, a lot of people work with audio and Canvas, stuff like that here at all, or a little bit, unfortunately. So you may want to check out Easel if you're not familiar with it already. And probably the last one that's the most important here would be the preload library they have there, which of course helps manage and preload your assets, images, and whatnot into your application. So just a handy suite to give that extra little push to help you work with things better in your application. Makes life a lot easier in general. So I don't know. We got a couple minutes. I don't know if we
why not?
Want to load that up just to show you the power of work with a library like that.
Mm-hmm.
See if we can get this going. It's pretty crazy the way what you can do with HTML5 now. So
I wonder if I can turn the volume on.
I don't think we're hooked into an audio feed. So this is what called Pirates Love Daisies, is my right? Pirates Love Daisies, okay.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure exactly what they're utilizing. Looks like they're doing preload and whatnot in there.
So all the audio you're hearing, maybe you can hear, is all done with their suite. No, this is web. And what you're looking at is a big canvas. I'm not going to play because I don't think I'm very good at this. I don't even know how to play. But there it is. There's the demo. Thank you very much, folks. Bye. Anyways, you can check it out. This does run on Playbook and even the Dev Alpha. I don't know if you can actually use it in the Dev Alpha because of the screen size, but it's a great example of the Create.js suite.
Yeah, the website, I don't know if we have, I'm sure we have their website up there. It's createjs.com, and they got great documentation and resources for, any questions. I believe they have forums and, whole community involvement thing there. So definitely a few good examples of libraries, and I think we'll hand it back to Adam for go over Enyo real quick and
Yeah. So, unfortunately, when Palm met with some unsuccess recently, it left a big development community of Enyo developers out there in the wild thinking, okay, what do I do now? Can I take my content and run it on different platforms, or what should I do with it? And so we definitely recognize that as a good opportunity because there's great examples of cases where these developers have taken their content and ported over to BlackBerry. So Enyo 2.0 is a pretty significant evolution, of course, of the 1.0 product, and it's a cross-platform successor. And so what that means is you can take your HTML5 and CSS3 assets that are used as part of that WebOS application and bring it to other platforms that support those standards in a similar way. They did have platform-specific code, that would only work on WebOS, but we've provided a porting guide published online, created by a community member from Poland named Lukasz, with the help of one of our fellows, Tim Windsor. We got that published for developers to benefit from. And as a result, many have ported their content over to BlackBerry and done so through the WebWorks framework. So they've taken their assets, packaged it into a WebWorks app, and continue to be successful with that content in BlackBerry App World. This is one example of it. So you can actually find this app in App World today. If you're familiar already with WebOS and Enyo, the UI probably looks very similar. Like this developer designed this app to look, for a WebOS device, and then use that content to port over to Playbook. This is a German developer who actually showed up to the Jam Berlin event when I was there, which was pretty cool. And I think we're just on time. So that was it for us. I hope that was a lot of useful content for everyone just to absorb and take in. We talked about tools, be that testing and previewing, building and packaging. We touched on different libraries you can use to build great and compelling apps, and talked a bit about the BlackBerry web platform as a whole.